ago, the hail of meteorites and debris from space has finally eased. The planet is cooling at last after the catastrophic collision which formed the Moon. Liquid water has made oceans, but there is no life. 4 billion years later, something has changed. Earth is covered in life. All life is made of cells, tiny sacs of water containing hundreds of different organic compounds which are constantly interacting. What are the chemicals of life, and how could they have arisen on a stark and barren planet all that time ago?
We don't know for sure. This is an experiment that was first performed in the 1950s in an attempt to answer that very question. What we have in this flask is the ocean, if you like, and we're heating it with this Bunsen burner to simulate the effects of the sun. So what happens, as this water heats and is evaporated, it travels all the way up here and continues into the Earth's atmosphere. Now in this bulb just here, what we have is the gases that we think made up the Earth's atmosphere 4 billion years ago. We have the gases such as carbon dioxide, nitrogen, ammonia and methane. And the effects of this wondrous spark pretty much simulates the effects of lightning in a stormy atmosphere. So as we've got to here from the atmosphere, the water condenses and travels down, simulating rain, all the way down to here. Whereas what happens is, the rain comes down and flows back across into the ocean again. So if you like, what this simulates is the water cycle, starting from the ocean into the atmosphere, condensing from rain and back into the ocean again. The amazing thing is that if you leave this for a week or so, the water actually turns a brown colour. And if you take a sample and analyse what's within it, you discover that it contains things such as simple sugars, some amino acids, some lipids, and the basic building blocks that make up both DNA and RNA. Of course, this is a long way from the big molecules that make up life, but it's a starting point, and it gives us an idea of how life might have begun.
In those ancient seas, the supply of the molecules of life, biomolecules, must have slowly increased, although just how they assembled into life remains a mystery. All are based on the carbon atom, the most versatile element of all. They fall into 4 main groups: nucleic acids, lipids, proteins, and carbohydrates somehow became the stuff of life. Of course, none of this would have worked were it not for water. Water is the world in which biomolecules drift and connect. Life chemistry is aqueous chemistry, chemistry that works because of the incredible dissolving power of water. The earliest cells may have looked similar to bacteria like these. Bacteria are termed prokaryotes, from Greek words meaning before the nucleus. Prokaryotes have no nucleus, which only appears in more complex forms of life. They are very small. Yet small and simple as they may be, prokaryotes remain the most widespread and diverse kingdom of life. And for over 2 billion years, they had the planet to themselves.
This fossil is 3.5 billion years old. It's called a stromatolite, and it was formed by the activity of cyanobacteria. The cyanobacteria build up layers of rock. Now you can imagine the surprise of a scientist about 50 years ago when in Shark Bay in Western Australia he discovered that stromatolites were still existing. And in a few places around the world, including here at Lake Clifton, these stromatolites are still being formed by the activity of cyanobacteria. What the cyanobacteria do is they use sunlight to convert carbon dioxide into oxygen. And it's thought that cyanobacteria producing stromatolites for billions of years played an important role in contributing the oxygen to the atmosphere. If you take some of these cyanobacteria from this lake and look at them under a microscope, you can see the green chlorophyll. So it's clear that cyanobacteria have played a very important role in the evolution of life.
But even a bacterium, at 1,000th of a millimetre in size, is itself 1,000 times bigger than the molecules of life. To enter the realm of molecules requires an electron microscope. An electron microscope can just make out the molecules of life, seen here colourless and frozen, the price of achieving up to 1,000,000 times magnification. The long strand is DNA, out of which strands of RNA are being formed. It clearly shows how building blocks of small molecules, called monomers, are strung together into supermolecules, called polymers. The first biomolecule was probably something like this, a self-assembling polymer. In the constant activity of the atomic world, it had to be capable of grabbing other atoms and growing. It's only in the last century that we've found that the substances by far the most adept at this game of building and copying themselves are at the heart of life: nucleic acids. Deoxyribonucleic acid is DNA. This is the famous double helix, a seemingly endless molecule made up of just 4 monomers. Each monomer, called a nucleotide, is a sugar and a phosphate group attached to a nitrogen-containing base. The sugar is deoxyribose, hence the first part of the whole name. In the assembled molecule, the sugars and phosphates bond lengthwise and form a double spiral backbone. Their bases project sideways from the spirals and connect them like rungs on a ladder. The bases are thymine, adenine, guanine and cytosine, or T, A, G and C for short. T attracts and pairs only with A. G attracts and pairs only with C. This specific pairing means that if DNA is split open, freely available DNA building blocks